Well, I had time to give some opinions on the last couple of days of this shit show that is Big Brother 25, and the main topic should be no surprise. It's not going to be the players mostly. It's going to be production. But before we get to that, let's recap that Jag had a big decision to make at Final Four. Was he to cut his friend Matt, that is the person that saved him to stay in the game after he was voted out unanimously? Or does he get out the easy move in Felicia, even though one could think that Felicia would be easier to beat at some of these end game competitions? And as Jag thought about this more and more, he decided that cutting Matt might have been the best decision for his game. Now, do I think that was the best decision for his game? It's hard, because as I've talked about before, Jag would be the worst winner of all time. But even though that's a fact, Matt and Felicia and Bowie would arguably be worse winners. But the more I think about it, it's like Jag was voted out unanimously, and then he got to come back in, and for several rounds he still sucked at the game. But because he was able to win competitions, he has controlled a lot of the end game. It's hard for me to give him too much credit, though, because the competitions were all slanted towards him to win, or at least him or Matt to win, because of the people that he was in the house with. He kind of had an easy ride with the way Big Brother does their competitions, which already kind of favor the men, so it's hard for me to give Jag too much credit. Now, if he were to cut Matt at the Final Four, he looks bad in the sense that Matt is the person that saved him. Matt's the reason Jag is still in this game in the first place. But if he does cut Matt, he has the argument of how much he controlled this game towards the end, and that he played this cutthroat game, and he maybe gets some respect despite being voted out unanimously. So to me, I don't know what the best move for Jag was to get a winning vote. It all comes down to the way the jury is thinking. And with Corey and Suri on the jury, I think Jag's going to have a hard time winning this game either way, because Corey mentioned how Jag was voted out unanimously, and Suri is pretty anti-Jag going into the jury, and I do think those two will have the most influence on the jury. It won't be Cam, who I think would be gung-ho for Jag to win, because Jag won competitions, whoop-de-doo. But in the end, Jag was going to cut Matt. He had come to that conclusion. He talked about it with Bowie, and I know he was going to do it because what Jag does, and Bowie too, every time they feel they have to target somebody in this game, they try to make themselves the victim to justify why they need to make that move, rather than justifying it because it's a game. For some reason, they take this game so seriously, even though they also want to play cutthroat. The way they play this game has been very annoying with the whole victimhood. Oh, we're bullied, and this is why we have to make these moves. I don't like it, but that's the conclusion Jag came to until he had a long DR session. And then this long DR session with production, he comes back from that, and suddenly the move is back to cutting Felicia right after his DR session. And it's like we've had this conversation before all season. Production's hands in this game have been very dirty. They have done a lot of messing with this game, and mostly for the worse. I mean, the twists are bad enough. The twists they implemented killed the season, but then they always involve themselves in the vote, and this is nothing new. Production has always had twists in Big Brother that have swayed the entire game some way. They've always tried to get people to do things in DR sessions. And, I host games on this channel, and, in my confessionals, in my DR sessions, do I try and make players paranoid sometimes for entertainment? Yes, I do. So I do know firsthand what DR tends to do. And side note, because more people will watch this video, than the video I posted yesterday. I'm trying to do more games on this channel once again, a Survivor game and a Big Brother game. So please apply if you want to play the online version of either of those games. I'm sure many of you Big Brother fans might want to play the Big Brother game on this channel. It's fun, it's long, but it's fun. So email owlboxtalks@gmail.com and apply. Let me know in the email if you want to apply for Big Brother or Survivor or both, because the hardest part of doing these games is finding enough cast members to do them. So please apply if you're a fan of this channel or a fan of Big Brother or even Survivor. Please apply. But back to production and the DR sessions. We talked about this with Cam. When Cam knew in his gut, and talked about this on the feeds, that in his gut he knew he needed to cut Corey for his game. Until he had a long DR session with production, he came right back from that. And this happened like throughout that entire week. Every time he came back from the DR, he had changed his mind that Corey needed to go. So I just sit here though and I wonder, you know, in my games, I want to cause drama because it's better television. So if I'm trying to make people paranoid in DRs, and this is a clue if you play the games that could happen. But I also, you know, try and get information out of people to explain their games. I'm not constantly trying to make people paranoid. I just want people to explain their games. But the production on Big Brother, they mess with the game. They sway people from making moves. But for what? To get the winner that they want, I guess? I don't understand any other reason why. Because if they're going to constantly interfere in the game and interfere with people's decision making, at least interfere to make your TV show better. But I always feel like they interfere and make it worse. We've all thought for so long throughout most of this game that Matt was going to win it. And for me personally, one of the factors in that was when production screwed up early in this season with the challenge, the hearing challenge, when Matt couldn't hear because he does have an issue with hearing. From that moment forward, I felt like production wanted Matt to win this game. And I didn't talk about it often because we can all have these conspiracy theories. Everybody thought that production was trying to help Suri and Jared. People thought at one point they were trying to help Cam. I thought at one point they were trying to help Corey. But I do feel like production tries to get themselves out of hot water first and foremost. And they did get themselves in hot water with that competition where Matt couldn't hear, and having a hearing competition when you have a player that can't hear is fucked up. So do I think production wants to save Matt? 100%. And they did save Matt. They got in Jag's ear. I just wish that if production was going to do all this interfering in the game, they would either get some better twists and make the TV shows more entertaining, or make the players make moves that are more entertaining rather than always talk them out of it. I just will never understand this production, but it is what it is. We will always be stuck with them likely until this show is finally canceled in the distant future. But yeah, so Jag cut Felicia. We now have the final HOHs, and Matt won part 1 of the HOH. By the time of this recording, I don't know who has won part 2 of the HOH. It will either be Bowie or Jag, and then they will go against Matt in the end. I feel like Jag or Bowie could have an edge over Matt in part 3 if it is a usual part 3 of questions about the game or questions about the past house guests. But I guess we'll see. I do think production wants Matt to win at this point, and I think they always have, to get themselves out of the hot water for that early challenge in the game. Jag, I think at this point, has the jury totally against him right now. And then there's Bowie, who I don't think the jury respects. So if Matt does make the end, he likely wins the game. And I do think Bowie would take Jag if she wins the final HOH. Jag is the one I don't know. Will production work on Jag enough that if Jag wins, he takes Matt to the end? I think 100% production will try to get through to Jag if Jag wins part 2 of the HOH. We'll see, though.